Shalom and good day all, this is Tiki29 back again for another manga I have recently read through, but of course you can see some graphic novels that are sort of like collected in this manga. The only reason why that is occurring is because some of these manga and graphic novels are around the same size and they sort of like fit into the box that I put them in, and that's why it's being covered in this video. So moving into the manga that I have recently read through, we have Nejima volumes 4 to 9, which has been really fun to read through. And in this, we get to follow a little bit more with the character of Neji himself, or Neji Springfield. We do encounter a situation to which he does, if I remember, encounter his father, but there's also a little bit more where we end up going to his home place, which we find out is in Wales. And it's really exciting to see this character's journey. There's also a bit of time involvement that takes place as well in some of the story, as well as another bit of a tournament of sorts. So I really enjoy how this story has been progressing. And for volumes 4 to 9, for overall story and art, I give an 8.5 out of 10, as I really enjoyed the story that much. Now it's time to move into Shaman King, as it's really nice to catch up again with Yao Asakura, along with his friends. And as you can see there, we have Tao Ren, who's on the cover there, plus Anna on the side. And this story basically takes up from where I left off in the last volume, to which things are drawing closer and closer to the big fight against Hao Asakura. So for this volume, I give it an 8 out of 10. I'm looking forward to reading through the rest of the volumes of the series. Moving into, of course, these smaller graphic novels, we have a series that I picked up at my LCS, which is called Headlocked, and this story revolves around a character who you do find out later is gay, but it's not oversaturated. In fact, it's very well done. But apart from that, it's really nice to sort of like see how this character began, where he continued with his dreams, what happened along the way. Did he have any injuries that affected what he was doing on stage or for the people? So for this series, I'll give it a 7 out of 10, so a bit of an average. I did actually like how the story was presented, and you do get also snippets like from the previous volume as you move into the next one. And with the first volume, you actually do get a bit of a bonus from the Kickstarter, and that I didn't expect from it, but you do actually get to see some additional bonuses in additional volumes. So like I said, 7 out of 10. Now moving on, Run on Your New Legs. It's been a while since I've caught up with this series, but catching back up with it again, I have really enjoyed it, as we get to see a little bit more around the key character who takes place in this story. And I think it's in one of the volumes, I think it's the second or the third volume, he ends up catching up with a friend who he used to play soccer with before he ended up sort of like moving into running. And you get to see sort of like some of their conflicts that they had, and they sort of felt like, am I no longer useful to you? Sort of like he has a little bit of resentment. They do end up sorting things out, and it's really good in sort of like having a story like this address sort of like a physical disability. And the writer who works on this is fantastic. I can't wait until volume 5 of the series. So for this series, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Now, moving into Children of the Whales. Now, this is a series that I wasn't too sure that I was going to like, so I thought I'd pick up the first 2 volumes at my LCS. So I ended up reading for the first one, and where the first one sort of like introduces us to one of the people who come on to basically the mud whale, which is somewhat like a ship that travels across the sand, but I believe it goes through other places as well. In the second one, I didn't expect the death to happen. I'm not going to say of which character, but you do actually get to see a death. So yeah, I might actually think of investing a little bit further. Now, these are some manga and graphic novels that I've read in between May and June of this year, of 2023. So for the first 2 volumes, I give it a 7 out of 10. So it's enough to pique my interest. So I'll see how I go with maybe the next 2 to 3 volumes. So basically volumes 3 to 5. And if I want to continue collecting it from there, I will. Moving into last but not least is something that I have actually seen on Netflix. And now it's actually time to sort of like getting around to reviewing and reading through the Idon Chronicles. And now this is something I didn't know that I was going to like, but there are some things in the book which isn't really brought across into the Netflix, but there are some things in the Netflix as well as the book that aren't brought into the story that sort of like need to be added into the story. When the first volume starts off, we end up meeting the character of Jack, and we also end up meeting the characters such as Olsen and other characters. Victoria, to which Victoria is seen in the second cover here. I think for what the series is, it probably wouldn't hurt to include more information. Yes, you do get to see that there's a bit of a war happening between the characters who make up the Idonese. That's what they're called. And also, you basically got this offspring of the Idonese playing a part of the resistance of someone who's sort of like taken over Idon itself and become like a type of emperor. It's not a very strong story, but it does have some very interesting elements. I will admit one thing, I did actually like the animation for the series, and to how well that they have sort of like taken from the pictures from this story and animated it into the series. I think they've done a really good job with it. So for this, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I don't know if there's any further volumes connected to this series. If there is, I might see if I can try to get a hold of them when they're available to read in English. Well, until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.